I was talking with someone today about traveling, and their first thought that came to their head when we were actually talking about traveling was they thought it was really expensive. And don't get me wrong, traveling can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be. So if you're one of those people who wants to travel more, but is really put off by how expensive it could be, stick around because I think you'll find some good information in this video. Traveling does not have to be expensive. It doesn't have to break the wallet. You don't have to take a ton of your well-earned resources and put them towards traveling. Now, there are expensive vacations you could take, and I think those are more in the public eye of what people generally want. However, there are some really great vacations that you could take probably in the next month that are cheap and pretty easy to get to. So first, you really got to look at what is the purpose of why you're traveling? You should start there. Instead of just picking a location and saying, this is where I'm going, don't do that. Think about why it is that you're traveling. Let's start there. Do you want to go to the beach? Do you want to climb a mountain? Do you want to be near the farms? Do you want to be in the city? What is it that you want to do? And then why? Why is it that you want to do that? What do you think you're going to get out of that experience that could be really helpful and rejuvenating for you? So we start there. From there, we'll start building an idea of what it is that we actually want to do. Then that's where we can start tackling the price. If you just jump straight past that step and go to, I want to go to Cancun or New York City, or I want to go to Paris or London. Yes, those are great places. There's going to be great things to do. But if you don't really look at the why and you just pick the first places that come to mind, they come to mind almost definitely because they're expensive. There's a few places that might come to mind that aren't, but usually it's like, well, the plane ticket to get there is expensive. So cut the idea of where exactly you're going and start with what exactly you want to do. And then the second thing you want to do is get online. This is where the research comes in. Any amount of research will be helpful towards making your trip the cheapest yet most fun possible. You don't have to go crazy. I wouldn't even say you would need to spend more than an hour or two, but you're gonna have to do a little research if you want to get a cheap vacation. It's just how it is. So from there, we want to start looking at plane flights, plane trips, plane tickets, the cheapest plane tickets you can find. There are a few websites out there that you could check out. My favorite is Skyscanner, but there's a bunch. You could check out any of them and start setting the filters to going anywhere in the world. Just submit to the fact that you don't know where you're going and set the location for that, for anywhere. And if you can, better yet, set the dates of your trip to any time as well, especially if you're going to be taking time off from work and you're able to put it out into the future a little bit and take those dates off. Set it to anywhere in the world at any time for X amount of time, maybe a week, maybe a few days. It depends on the proximity and everything. But by doing that, you really give yourself the opportunity to cut down on plane tickets. And just to give you a quick example here, I travel a lot, and I'm traveling coming up pretty soon, and I plan to reignite my traveling again. And actually, I want to put a lot of that on here so that people here can follow along. However, there are cheap ways to travel, and this is my example. So, I was looking at plane tickets to Peru. I go to Peru a lot. I'm a combo server. I have to go into the Amazon jungle often. If you want to hear about that, go ahead and leave a comment down below and subscribe so that I can really get that stuff out to you, because it's a lot of really interesting stories. But anyway, I needed to go to Peru. I needed to get medicine, combo, and I wanted to go down there on a vacation. So I was looking at the plane tickets, and I had picked a specific time and a specific airport that I wanted to fly into Peru. And it was looking like $800, and there was 2 people going. So it was looking like it was going to cost me $1,600 to fly. That's enough to make your skin shrivel if you've been saving up money for a while to go on a vacation, and the plane tickets just to get there are $1,600. Yeah, of course it looks expensive. I'm not kidding you. I did a little research, got a little flexible with my dates, and I got a little flexible with my airport. I didn't get to the airport I wanted. I ended up getting somewhere else and finding public transport in Peru to get there. It cost me $100 $150, including one luggage round trip. I'm not kidding you, $150 round trip. Anybody who's been to Peru knows that Peru is very cheap to eat and it's very cheap to live in. I actually ended up staying during that trip. I stayed in a 5-star hotel in Peru for around $30 a night. I'm not kidding. It doesn't have to be expensive. So that's what you want to do. You want to get a little flexible with when and where, and you can start looking at the plane tickets. Next, what you're going to want to do is start shuffling through those cities. Where am I flying? Okay, did I find really cheap tickets to Dubai? Dubai is really cool, but as far as I know, I haven't done a lot of research on it, but Dubai is very expensive. So you have to start balancing, okay, this might be the cheapest ticket, but is it going to be the cheapest place to stay in as well? Because just because you only spend a couple $100 round trip on a flight doesn't mean that it's not going to be expensive when you actually get there, and you're going to end up spending hundreds on hundreds of dollars on lodging and food, and you can quickly rack up that $2,000 bill again, which is what we're trying to avoid. We want to travel for cheap. We want to get a lot out of our experience, and we don't want to feel stuck where we're at. We want to be able to get out and enjoy ourselves and come back and not feel this weight of responsibility back on our shoulders as soon as we get back off the plane. So try to knock off those other places, and if you travel for cheap, you can save up over time to go to those bigger places. Using that same flight tip that I just told you about, you can cut down on the flight and then really ball out when you're ready to and you've been saving for a while. So you're going to start filtering through. There's actually websites online that you can check how much it costs to actually live there as a person, like if you were to move. It's not that hard to look at. You can compare it to the actual city that you live in and the cost per dollar, the cost per gallon of milk, anything. You can really start to get an idea of how much things cost. That way you can try to get an idea of how much the city most likely will cost to stay in. Obviously, you're going to want to add a little bit more on top of that because you're not renting a place long term. A lot of time they take an apartment and they use that to kind of build the price of how much it costs to live there. And this is important. You can actually check how much it costs to get a gallon of milk, how much it costs to get gas, what the average living price is, although you could probably ignore that part. You can really get a sense of how much everything's going to cost there. So you can really start to compare that to where you are currently. You can start to compare that to other cities that you're checking out. And it can compare to an average of how much it costs on average to do things. This is going to give you a quick idea of how much it's going to cost you exactly to live there. Now, you're going to want to add a little bit because I'm sure you're going to want to do things. You're going to want to go on tours. You're going to want to maybe see shows or sports events or movies, whatever it is that you want to do. Museums, whatever it is that you want to do, you're going to want to build a little bit on top of that. But from there, you can start to get a pretty good idea of how much it's going to cost. And even if you're not at all a type A, I'm not particularly a type A, I'm much more of a type B. I just kind of look at the prices. I'll see, okay, this is about how much it costs compared to my city. It's this percentage less. And then I'll look at another city. Oh, this city is actually 10% more than my city on average. Then you can start to get an idea. Okay, I'm going to completely pass up city B. I'm going to go to city A. You don't have to plan much. Just make sure to have a little bit of extra money planned out for random miscellaneous things that you're going to do for fun. But yes, also, next tip, when you're getting a place, if you could get a place with a kitchen, a lot of hostels, for example, have not only group rooms, which are usually very safe and very comfortable, but they also have private rooms. So it's like a little hotel room inside a hostel. The reason I recommend going to hostels is because they almost always have a kitchen in them. Make sure the hostel that you're picking does have a kitchen, because if you cook food there instead of buying out every single night, you can save a lot of money that way, which you can take that money to do fun things like rent a kayak and go kayak in the ocean. There's so many things that you can do to really lower the cost of traveling. But this is a quick crash course to cheap traveling. I hope that it was helpful. If it was, I would like to make more videos like this, but I want you to subscribe so that I can keep giving you my travel tips and I can keep talking about some of the things that I've done in the past. I've made a lot of mistakes, so you don't have to. Keep being you.